What are some of the things that we need to know to be able to be more organized and to live in smaller spaces?
My kids had a church event whereby people were supposed to host children, from other churches that came for the event. So I said, I'll take 8 of your kids. I'll take 8.
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Hello. This is Jennifer J. Hammond, and I'm here with an amazing guest. We're really excited about talking about something that we all need, and that is truly how do we live small? If you don't want to live in a tiny home, but space-saving tips for a small living savvy. So we have LJ here. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited because you have a real life story. This isn't just something that you kind of thought about once in a while, or that you're on a reality TV show. You live in a tiny 2-bedroom home with 5 children. And so you have really learned how to organize things. 5 children, it could be, even in a 5-bedroom home, could be a lot. So talk about, what are some of the things that we need to know to be able to be more organized and to live in smaller spaces?
Sure. Well, is it okay if I just start with kind of my background really quick?
Yeah.
So I grew up in a huge farmhouse in rural Iowa. There was 5 huge bedrooms, 2 huge living rooms, and I had my own bedroom. There's 4 kids, but we all had our own bedroom. The 6th bedroom, which was a huge room upstairs, was turned into the bathroom, at some point in time. Mm-hmm. So we had a huge bathroom. Okay, so fast forward, I go to college, live in a little dorm room, decide, get engaged, get married. We go looking for a house. I know nothing about looking for a house, and I'm not going to be picky. I'm not going to be snotty. I'm not going to say, well, this house isn't big enough for me, So of course we end up with this little kind of small, little square 3-bedroom house. And so it's very easy. Okay. First of all, I'm going, we're not having children for quite a while, right? Okay, right. 9 months later, 8 months later, we're having a baby 2 months early. So she's a girl, right? So good. 3 bedrooms. We got a bedroom. We got one for the girl. Okay. The next baby that comes is a boy. Okay, good. Put the boy in there. The third one that comes is a girl. So she's in our bedroom with us. I managed to put a crib in our room. Okay. The 4th baby that comes is another girl. Okay. Handy. I put a little cradle by the bed. We still have the crib in our room with the other 2-year-old. Got the baby in the cradle. Okay. So I'm going out one night at 9 p.m. Got the kids all in their places. I'm going out with a friend. The baby sits up in the cradle. I'm like, oh no, she can get out of the cradle now. So I dump everybody up a bed, right? I put the toddler bed in the girl's room. So my girl goes in there, and I put the baby in the crib, which was still in my room from the 2-year-old. And I go out the door, everybody's happy. Okay. So the next baby that comes I have 5 kids. So the next baby that comes is a girl. Okay. So every baby, I'm rearranging everything, right? Rearranging everything. So, I put me and my husband in the one smaller bedroom. I put 3 girls in the little bit bigger bedroom, and then the boy, and I put the baby girl in with the only boy, right? He's number 2. So I've got him up on a bunk, and I've got her space, down like with the crib under there. So, but time goes on, and it's getting, like, well, I don't know if the girl should be sharing a room with the boy, So guess what? We have an old house where there's this front, hallway where there's just room. I measured, there's just room for our double bed in that front hallway. And it has French doors to the living room. So I close one of the French doors, I put curtains over them, and that's me and my husband's bedroom. And then I can disperse 2 girls to one room, 2 girls to the other room, and the boy in the other room. So that's kind of how we did it with that house. Well, fast forward a few years, and our neighbors 2 houses over are Bosnian neighbors, and we love our Bosnian neighbors. But they decide they're going to take off and just leave their house because, they don't know all the rules of everything. And they had, come not that long beforehand to our country. And we're like, well, we can't have that, we'll take over your house payments, and we'll just live in your house for you. So we kept both houses because at this point in time, we did respite care for special needs kids. So we had loads of kids on weekends. So my husband would take the big kids in our old house, and I would have all the small kids in the other house. And we actually moved to the smaller house. We moved to that smaller house, which had 2 little bedrooms and a dormer upstairs, a little galley kitchen, and 1 little front room, like the size of your biggest bathroom, probably. So anyway, yeah. So I put the 4 girls upstairs in the dormer. I put a queen, like a double bed up there, and the 2 oldest shared that. And then, you know, that walkway where you walk in the dormer, I put 2 single beds end to end in that walkway. And that was their, you know, that was their room. All 4 girls were up there.
Yeah.
And so in the boys' room downstairs, I put a bunk bed, because, you know, if his cousin came or somebody else, like, and I'd say, well, you don't have to share your room with others. So you have to have like the girls' doll house in there. There was no room for dressers in that house. So fortunately, I had a garage, and I had like stuff settled in the garage where I could go out and use it. You know, like I could go get my good dishes out of my buffet from the garage, you know, and things like that. So we didn't have room for dressers upstairs. We didn't have room for anything. So guess what I did? In the basement, half of the basement was like the laundry room, like the washer and the dryer were in there, and the furnace was in there. So what I did is I hung PVC pipes from the rafters down there with wire coat hangers. And so I just made it up. I just like, okay, I'm just making this the mega closet for everybody. So we had, you know, long poles, and then I had a summer tub and a winter tub for everybody's clothes. So they had their summer clothes in one tub, they had their winter clothes in the other tub, and then they would have like a shoe rack hanging from there. And that wasn't the funnest thing about that house. The funnest thing about that house was that whenever it rained, there'd get about a foot of water on the floor. So I would put when it rained, I just put their galoshes on the steps going down to the basement, because that was everybody's dressing room as well. And fortunately, like the washer and dryer were there, the folding table was there, all the clothes were there. So it was very handy, right? It's all right there. So they'd have to go and put their galoshes on, go down in the water, get dressed and stuff. Don't drop anything, you know, and go on our merry way. But it was awesome. We had an awesome time.
Well, and I think the thing is what you just said is, you know, as you kind of move through whatever situation, it was so important to just understand that you can always create more space, and you can always be, I want to say, we can live smaller than we think we can live, you know, and we can share more spaces than we think about. So often, you know, I think we've had such abundance that we forget how we can actually simplify our life and make it into, I want to say, more efficient in a lot of ways, because sometimes we end up just, you know, getting stuff and cluttering up our lives. And I've seen so many people who are, you know, they're just overwhelmed with stuff, and they really are not even being able to use it because, again, it's so cluttered. So I think when you have that many people and you have to organize that many different, you know, sets of clothes for people and shoes for people and everything, it's really important to be able to understand that you can do it in small spaces, but you just have to be organized, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And what was fun about this too was, as I said, we had respite kids, and we'd keep the special needs kids, we'd keep them all weekend. So they'd come Friday night and they'd stay, you know, till Sunday night. We'd go pick everybody up, and then we'd go take everybody home and stuff. But this one particular weekend, my kids had a church event whereby people were supposed to host children, you know, from other churches that came for the event. So I said, I'll take 8 of your kids. I'll take 8. Because in my mind, I was thinking, okay, in my bedroom, you know, in our bedroom downstairs, I have a double bed. I can put a cot beside that. That's 3 kids, right? And I said, they all need to be the same sex though, just all boys or all girls, you know?
Yeah.
And then I thought, upstairs, I have the girls' 4 beds, right? The 2 twin beds and the double, and I can put a mattress on the floor up there. That's 5. So that's 8. I've got 8 spaces I can use. And we had one small bathroom. So anyway, sure enough, that was the weekend. We had a bunch of respite kids. We had 8 extra kids, my 5. And we just expanded into the yard. We put a few on the trampoline. My own kids and some of their friends, they just slept on the trampoline. I'm pretty sure somebody I don't know if anybody put a tent up. I don't think so, but we did have some on the trampoline. And the only space that did not have people on it, because I slept on the living room floor with several of my kids and some of the respite kids. And that was the only space there was. You couldn't put any more bodies in the hallway or in the kitchen. It was a galley kitchen. And so it was just awesome. We had a fun time.
Well, and one other thing I wanted to mention about like small spaces, sometimes you're also trying to figure out how to be creative with decorating. And so one thing that people are wondering, is how do you decorate for the people who are unartistic, who they don't feel like they have any ability to create beautiful spaces, which I think we all have more creativity than we give ourselves credit for. But I know that even myself, I'm like, I don't know, maybe. And then I start to look online, and I think you can look and find different places that'll inspire you. But what kind of pointers would you say to someone who's trying to decorate a small space who doesn't feel like they're artistic at all?
Okay, well, the first thing is paint color. Because I think if you can choose a color that not only that you love, but that you feel good in, it's different for clothes you wear versus paint colors, I think, because your atmosphere that you're looking at all day. And you could look up the effects of certain colors like red. You wouldn't want red in the kids' bedroom probably because that was going to make them all wired and hyper, and a lot of people choose like greens or blues for bathrooms because that's supposed to be calming and stuff. In my first house, I went with pink and burgundy. Now this was in the early 90s, but I painted my living room a rose pink, and I painted that big front hallway a burgundy, and I loved it. You have to think about what colors you want to do. You can also look through the paint chips and kind of put them up on the wall and see like what color you would think would be comfortable for you.
But it's also, I was going to say, I think colors sometimes are very personal on what makes you feel comfortable. So sometimes your suggestion of taking the paint chips and putting them up on the wall is always such a good thing, because then you can get, if you're living in a house with multiple people, get everyone to take a look and see what their viewpoint is and how does it make them feel, right?
Yes, yes. And another good thing is just containers. Like, even though we were in a small house, like everything was in a container, because to move it or even just to have it in something, like you had to have it in something, right?
Yep.
So like a trunk, maybe for the living room coffee table that has a flat top, you can put the blankets in there, you can put extra pillows in there, or you can have it for the games.
Right.
If you don't have any space, then just be sure you have containers. We had two little red square stools that the top came off of, and we had like, water guns in there, and so like just the containers that you use, just make sure that they're attractive to you, like it's in the basement, we didn't care so much about attractive, right? We just wanted to make sure our tubs were waterproof, and some of them weren't. Some of them had cracks in the bottom, and we learned that, like, okay, this tub has got wet clothes in it. Right. But, when you're upstairs, like make sure your containers are pretty, baskets or whatever. And it's nice if they have lids, because then you don't really have to worry about the dust all settling in there and stuff. But just containers for everything. If you have your video, now not so many people have, what do you call that? Movies that are on, people usually just stream them online nowadays.
Right.
But when you had all that, you could put tubs under the bed, with the lids on them and just pull those out. A lot of times we had, in just various houses, we've had tubs under the bed with the shoes in them. Like in my current house, that's where I keep my shoes. They're in my tub, big flat tub under the bed, and just pull it out when I need a pair of shoes.
And I think that's really important, is just to make sure that everything is functional. Because like you said, with the coffee table, it being a trunk, there's so many things that can have dual purposes, and just making sure that you're looking at that from a different, it's a totally different viewpoint than I think we've looked at from a while for many years in decorating. And it's so much fun to see how many things can have multiple uses. To me, they remind me of like Transformer. There's a Transformer furniture. It can do this and it can do this, and it's also pretty.
Yes.
And you can do a lot, as you mentioned before, with curtains or French doors. There's so many things that you can partition off in a room or whatever. If you had a barn, you can turn the barn into different things. I've seen people take barns and just turn them into amazing spaces, because again, there's so much you can do with just even curtains and containers.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And, having so many girls, I would pass down their clothes. So I had this one cupboard in the basement. I think it was under the basement stairs. There's usually a place there. And I had a big cupboard in there, and bag up their clothes, put the size it was on it, girls 5T or whatever, and put it in there till the next kid grew into it. Then I'm like, I'm going shopping in the basement, and I get down and get out the next size, and give it to the next kid. But I remember when we moved out of that house, people were like, where did that all come from? I'm like, it's the clothes people are growing out of or into, So,
Yep.
they're like, there's just more stuff that kept coming out of that house. But interestingly, a friend that I had, she moved into a larger house from a smallish house, and she had 6 kids. But she said that moving into the larger house, it really, like all of her stuff that she had, kind of filled that house too. Because it's just when you're in a small house, you just have it arranged and organized so that it's just, out of the way. It's either, under the bed or in a trunk or in a cupboard, or you might have a wardrobe, if you don't have any closet space. But she said that, she was so surprised because when she moved all of her stuff into the bigger house, like it was all there. I mean, it all fit, and it wasn't like there wasn't enough stuff to fill that house.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's amazing how much we can, like I said, in our, if we use things in multiple functional ways, we can do so much with a very small space. And I think that a lot of people are moving. There is that huge trend toward tiny homes and just being more efficient with our space. Rather than having, even the huge homes where we're having to heat them and cool them, the efficiency and the energy that it takes, all of that kind of stuff. So I know we're already out of time. I want to make sure that people know how to get a hold of you. Can you share your contact details?
Yeah, sure. Just go ahead and email me at Laurie, LAURIE .Jane, JANE, and then the number 1, and then it's at yahoo.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing your tips. And as you know, I like to end every episode with a yay. So will you raise your voice and say yay with me?
Sure.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
Hey,
Hi, I'm Jack Canfield. You may know me as the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And if you want more help in getting from where you are to where you want to be, I want to encourage you to listen to the Jennifer Hammond Show.